Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. All right. Great to talk some football again. Adventures and special teams.
Yes. Let's just start with the muff punt that we got a pool report. Did you think that they ran into the kicker, or they pushed him into the kicker, or to the punter? I mean, to the return, excuse me.
Yeah. So everything was legal by them. We call it a dump, where the gunner takes a blocker and pushes him into the returner. Just like a punt rusher can do to a protector, you can push a blocker into the punter. So Jalen Tolbert, at first I just got to say that his competitiveness was off the charts. And so what he was trying to do was he was trying to chase and recapture the gunner that could kind of gotten away from him. And while he was running, he had his eyes on Turp to see if he was going to fair catch it, which tells Tolbert to pull away from it. But he didn't see him call for a fair catch, so he put his eyes right back on the gunner at about the same time that Turpin signaled for a fair catch, so he missed a fair catch signal. And he was competing to get back in phase to block, and it was just a perfect storm of gunner, blocker, and returner on a bad short punt, to be honest with you, where they all collided at the same time, and JT thought that the ball hit Turpin, and when he got up off the ground, he heard the crowd noise, and he saw a whole bunch of opponents running for the football, so his first instinct was, I got to get on it because I thought I hit Turp. So we talked about it, had a great discussion of it this morning in our special teams meeting, and honestly, I gave Tolbert a lot of accolades for his competitive fire in that football game, and that was just one of those football plays where football just happens, and he knows if it doesn't hit our guy to get away from it, but in that moment, he just made a decision like, I got to get on it because it sure felt like it was live.
Tolbert with ESPN. In this era of player safety, should that be a legal play where you can just blast the guy back into somebody, and same thing on the punter deal? They always talk about player safety. Is that
I think so, and I think it's up to the blocker to get out of the way of the returner, and it's up to the punt protector to root down and hold your ground against the rusher. I think those are, in my opinion, legal plays. Yeah, I don't know if I recall an injury of that, but it's kind of the game within a game. You dump a blocker into the returner, or you dump a protector into the punter, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it's coached by us and everybody else, obviously, and we kind of got in the way on that one. Very unique play, yeah.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning.
What's up, Cal?
Obviously, you want to have CJ for extended. How do you think you guys did with the replacements and all the gymnastics you had to use to get that going?
Yeah, there was a lot of gymnastics. We had Tolbert was back up again. Jalen Brooks was active and took a lot of gunner reps. Nashawn Wright was back. So, CJ's got so much experience. I think that our competitive nature with Tolbert and Brooks and Nashawn, Malik Davis, Tyrus Wheat, we had a whole new gang of bodies out there. And the experience, matters for something, where the first punt, Tolbert's running and he cuts back underneath the guy blocking him, where CJ probably just stays wide and just keeps running and let anger kind of feed the punt to him. And then on the one where Tolbert got dumped into the returner, who knows if CJ, backs out of there. But I think it's growing pains, and they're all great marks for our guys, to be honest with you, to learn from, because those are very competitive plays. And I was very proud of the young guys that stepped up in CJ's absence. We're missing Wanye Thomas too, which is a big miss for us. So a lot of new guys got some work, and I was really proud to see some very competitive football playing, even though it wasn't perfect by any means. And I acknowledge that, and so did our guys in the meeting this morning. But a lot of young guys got a lot of critical work, and I think it'll pay dividends for us down the road when we can watch the tape and say, okay, this is probably what we wanted to do in that moment. But it's easier said than done, when I got the clicker and things are going 100 miles an hour. And they got hard decisions to make. Yeah.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. I forget which field goal it was last night, but there was one where it was kind of a wide snap and it forced the motion to kind of get accelerated.
Yeah.
Speak on Brandon Aubrey's just composure in that moment, and again, he's still perfect as well.
Yeah. I think it was one where it was kind of inside. Yep, and he had to put it down. Yep. I think we're getting so used to Trent having such a good ball that anything that's just barely inside, I don't think it fazed Brandon at all. He's very composed on the sideline. After the first PAT miss against the Giants, his very first kick in the NFL, he was very composed. I think that was the best thing that happens is he misses his first kick, and we got to see. But his demeanor really doesn't change throughout the course of the game. I ask him how he's feeling, body, mind, and it's always, I'm good, coach, I'm good. So the operation has been maybe the biggest adjustment over the first, training camp in the first couple of weeks, and he's gotten really comfortable with it. So I didn't see any shakeup in him on anything, So I'm proud of him. Keep him going.
You spoke after that missed PAT in New York about how the pace of operations kind of threw him off there, and then
Yeah.
I feel about the end of the half last night. It was kind of similar. It was taking a while, but having that kind of experience that helped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the PAT miss was on the sudden change defensive touchdown, and then one of the field goals I think was at somebody called a timeout or something like that, where what do you do as a kicker? Do you sit over there on the net and keep kicking, or do you go out on the field all by yourself and kind of swing on air? And all those things we're still trying to figure out, but he's figuring it out. With Brian Anger's help, he's been a great mentor for him. So all cool. Again, kind of new things for us, and it seems like every game something's new thrown at the kicker, the gunner, the punt protector. Tyrus Wheat, we got flagged one time for lining up a little bit too deep, and so the ref on the very next one is hollering at him from the sideline to move up, and you can see him like talking to the ref, trying to move up, and the ball's about to be snapped, and they switch from a return into an added rush all at the same time. So his Tyrus Wheat's poise in that moment was outstanding on our backed up punt from the 10-yard line. He's lined up like this, and the ref's telling him to move up, and he's like, am I good? Am I good? Am I good? And they add rushers, and all of a sudden he's got to punt protect, and so just another acknowledgement in this morning's meeting of great job keeping your composure, keeping your eyes on your work, communicating punt protection. The ball got snapped at the same time. Man, this is, a young man that's never played an NFL football game, and we're hitting a critical punt from the minus 10-yard line, in the second half. And all the little stuff like that, maybe is recognized or not, but we look at it in the film room like, man, that was pretty damn good job, man, of keeping your composure in a critical moment.
Hey, Bones. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com.
Yeah.
Keeping to Aubrey. Dak Prescott yesterday called him Butter Aubrey because he said he's just that smooth. And when you look at a guy who...
I didn't hear that. Yeah, I like that, though.
So this is a guy who came in training camp trying his best to earn a job. He earns the job, and then now, as we have this conversation, he's only 3 field goals shy of breaking the NFL record. I mean, you've coached a lot of kickers and great legs. Have you ever seen anything like this, inclusive of his composure on this big stage?
Yeah. Butter, huh? Like butter. Because he's on a roll? Is that how it goes? Who's that, Stuart Scott? Oh, yeah. Oh, smooth as butter, yeah. I'm trying to kind of just lay low with it because I've heard, and recognized that he's a couple kicks away from whatever this, whatever that. So, honestly, I'm trying to just not build up too much. And, yeah. I've been fortunate to be around some good kickers. I think Zerline had a really good start to his career. I can't remember how many he made in a row. I'm proud of the work he's put in, and I'm very proud of how coachable he is. And like I've said before, I'm not coaching him too much at all, because I think the best thing he's got going for him is he's just swinging as natural without looking at other kickers or listening to me that much. I haven't changed one thing about him since he's been here. We've just worked on the operation part of it. What do you like? What's your triggers? How do you want the ball tilted? So it's been more questions for him than coaching for him. So we got a long way to go, but it's been a hell of a start. Let's face it. Hope we can keep it going.
You guys have your across the hall meetings. Obviously, in your group, you guys have to be aligned the right way, and defense seems to be having those problems. How much can you help those guys get lined up the way they're supposed to?
Yeah, I mean, we've been special teams been a part of it too. We had a penalty yesterday as far as Tyrus Wheat just being lined up a little bit too deep, and then we had 2 PATs where we lined up supposedly in the neutral zone. I still have some questions about that one, but I think it's just we've shown some clips of it where, especially on down and distance, giving yourself just a little bit of buffer. You want to crowd the ball, but we've seen some tape of Cam Jordan a couple weeks ago where he kind of jumped off sides, but he gave himself about a yard buffer, so even though he kind of flinched forward on defense, he gave himself some room where he still wasn't into the neutral zone. So we've shown tape of, there's a big one about 2 weeks ago. I think it was the Raiders guy guarding their slot receiver, lined up off sides on the same play that Max Crosby forced a fumble on Justin Herbert. So a forced fumble got wiped off the board just because of lining up accidentally by a slot corner in the neutral zone. So we look at all that stuff. And obviously you want to stay on side on special teams, PAT, field goal, block defense. But I also, hopefully, am wise enough to know that in the course of a football game, stuff happens, man. You're loaded in, you're locked in, you're trying to grab the ball and get off, and you're just, accidentally just shaved it a little too much. So we practice it, we preach it, but football happens, and we'll keep working on that for sure. Good question, man.
Yep. All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks.